Zionism,
jihad,
war crimes,
massacre,
genocide,
ethnic cleansing,
babies,
hostages,
torture,
rape,
colonialism,
anti-Semitism,
apartheid,
occupation,
racism,
resistance,
divine right,
international law,
freedom fighter,
terrorist,
indigenous,
Nakba,
Holocaust,
from the river to the sea,
freedom,
equality,
self-determination.
peace.
Words are containers. They're vessels of meaning and emotion and intent, and they carry history and they shape identities, and all too often they define the boundaries of conflict. Words like the ones that Mushon and I have just kind of spoken are not neutral. No matter who you are and no matter how you view things, those words are charged with the weight of suffering, of triumph, of fear, of hope. And each one of those words on its own can conjure up an entire world of pain, of memory, of justice, or of injustice. But they're not just descriptive. They're also prescriptive. They don't just tell us what has been, they define our ability to articulate and move towards what might be. And that's the problem. Words unexamined become the problem. They trap us in cycles of misunderstanding and enmity. And every time we speak, every time we use words, we run the risk of perpetuating or of deepening the very conflicts that we're trying to resolve. Words can harden our hearts, words can limit our imagination, and they can blind us to the humanity on all sides of any conversation. But on the flip side, words can also be tools. They can bridge divides, they can build a new understanding, they can articulate futures that aren't here yet, but that we desperately need. And so words define the possible. They give shape to what we can imagine. And without the right words, we struggle to envision a different world, to envision a future where peace is possible, where justice is balanced, where peoples can exist not just in proximity, but in partnership. And that's why it's so crucial. That's why Mushon and I are really focused on this idea of being mindful of words and the words that we choose, and being thoughtful about how we frame our thoughts and how those worlds ripple out and shape perception and create narratives and ultimately define our realities, because those words define what we can imagine. They define how that vision is perceived. And so today's session is really about being thoughtful about words and how we speak and how we listen, and how that listening and that speaking are key to helping us start reimagining a future that's not bound by the past. Because the future that we want, the future that we yearn for, begins with words that we choose today. So our agenda for today is really simple. We're going to do some intros. I'm going to give you a little bit about me. Mushon's going to give you a little bit about himself. Then we're going to give kind of a little bit of context on what Mushon came up with, this political imagination exercise that is unbelievably powerful, that I think is a really wonderful way to kind of think about the future. And then after that, and by the way, that is a hands-on kind of part of this. We're going to ask for your participation because it's not just about us. And then we're going to open things for discussion, for your questions, to talk about these features and anything else that might come up. So with that, I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'll give Mushon time to introduce himself. My name is Mo Husseini. I'm a Palestinian-American writer, designer, and all-around knucklehead. I live near Seattle. A lot of what I do as a creative is about exploring the future. And as a designer, that work is always rooted in empathy, in understanding people, what they need, how they see the world, what moves them, what scares them, what keeps them up at night. And as an overly analytical introvert, I spend a lot of time in my own head thinking about thinking about words, because for me, words are the tools of my trade. They're incredibly powerful. They're vectors of imagination. They're tools of advocacy. They're ways to engage and elevate and move people. Um, so, I'm here today not as a representative of anyone. I'm not speaking for anyone. I'm not a proxy for anyone. I'm here on my own behalf as somebody who is deeply tired of and frustrated by the lack of nuance in this conflict. The zero-sum thinking. I'm here because I think it's critical that we learn how to understand the power of words, how to listen to each other, how to talk to each other, and that we work to imagine a future where truths can exist, where justice and peace are not just ideals, but realities. I'm here to challenge narratives and maybe help folks understand that only dialogue and empathy and understanding move us forward into a place that's more compassionate and just and understanding. And with that, I will hand you over to the far more eloquent and talented Mushon. Mushon.
It's not about the competition, no. Hi, I'm Mushon Zer-Aviv. I'm a designer, educator, writer, and an activist. As a designer, I try to affect the world I'm in and to change the reality I'm in. And I live in Tel Aviv, and the reality I'm in sucks really bad. And I'm looking at my skills and what I stand for, and I'm trying to look at how can I get from this point? How can we get out of this bleeding present? And this is also what brought me to write about this, to write in Medium, to read about very different expressions about this conflict in Medium. And that led me to Mo's writing, which really hit a chord and really felt to me like we're trying to say very similar things, which led to this session. So I'll turn it back to Mo, and I'll say a few more words later.
Okay. So the violence since October 7th, the loss of life, the sheer horror of what's unfolded has honestly felt like a nightmare that's hard to wake up from. I think the frustration for me is that we've only deepened the pain, the suffering, and the hopelessness that's hung over this conflict for decades. And it's been agonizing to watch not just the devastation, the lives lost, the families destroyed on every part of this, but more depressingly for me is the way that we keep cementing the idea that this conflict is eternal, that it's never ending, that we're trapped in a cycle that we can't escape from, where each act of violence creates another act of violence, and each oppression creates more oppression. And we create a narrative that seems destined to go on forever, with both sides in pain and in fear and in trauma. Israelis and Palestinians dealing with the loss of an ability to ignore the reality, dealing with relentless bombardment, dealing with loss of homes and of loved ones, and of just constant conflict on both sides, and ultimately the uncertainty of the day-to-day. If we keep seeing this conflict as eternal, as something that can never be resolved, we're dooming ourselves. And I think what we're here to say is that it's easy to get caught in cycles of blame and retribution, but it's a trap. The more we see the other side as the enemy, the harder it becomes to imagine a future where peace is possible And we are here to try and break that cycle, to try and get people to understand that peace is possible and that we can imagine a peace that is possible by acknowledging the pain on both sides, by acknowledging the humanity on both sides, and by believing that this conflict doesn't have to define us forever. Because if we don't, we are condemning ourselves and future generations to live in this conflict. I had the honor, honestly, of seeing Aziz Abu Sarra and Maoz Inan speak a few years back, a few weeks back. And one of the things that they said that has really just stuck with me is that we can forgive the failures of the past, we can forgive the failures of the present, but we can never and we should never forgive the failures of the future, because we've got the power to prevent and change those. And that's what this is about for us. This is about how to leverage words to help define that future, how to not just describe our world, but shape it, especially in conflicts like this. Words can either lock us into pain or help us heal. And that begins with acknowledgement. That begins with recognizing that suffering exists for everyone here. That begins with not assigning blame or defending perspectives, but making sure that everyone is seen and heard, and going beyond just ticking a box in order to create a space where different truths can exist. And that means not just speaking like I'm doing right now, but listening like Mushon is doing, and will trade, obviously. But ultimately, it's about not rushing to answer. It's about not rushing to dismiss, but sitting with things. And so words can be walls or they can be bridges. The goal here is building bridges. And too often the language we use sets us up for zero-sum games where one side wins and the other side loses. But we are here to flip the script and push the idea that progress for one side doesn't have to come at the expense of the other, and that non-zero-sum thinking opens up new pathways and lets us talk about the future in ways that work for everybody. By changing how we talk about this conflict, how we think about this conflict, we change our ability to resolve this conflict. And that's where compassion comes in. And that's not feeling sorry for each other. That's about trying actively to see the world from the other's perspective, and see the world in a way that allows you to recognize where others are coming from, and using words to connect and comprehend and bring together. Compassion is the bridge between dissonance of conflicting narratives. I don't have to make peace with you to have compassion for you. I don't have to agree with you to have compassion for you. It's about having an ideological framework that's about making peace with others, with ourselves, with our past, and with our present, and building a real foundation for justice that moves us beyond passive sympathy and challenges us to take action and use words in ways that bring us closer to justice and peace in ways where they stop being abstract and become lived realities. And for more about reality, we go to Mushon, who is far more grounded in it than I am. Mushon?
Yeah, so live from Tel Aviv. I would go back to October 7th, and it was 6:30. October 7th, I woke up from the sirens, and like many times in the past, the first reaction I get when the sirens break out is like, this has to be a mistake. It's never a mistake, but no, it's a mistake. My brain rejects this reality, and I was, took the family, ran to the staircase room, and little by little we start to not to understand, but to just to be exposed to the horror that took place, and this is something that was not it's not something that we didn't imagine. We didn't want to imagine this, but we were talking about this for years. For years, it was clear that Gaza is going to explode. It's not, you cannot contain the conflict. You cannot maintain the occupation. And we work towards a different future. And at that moment, it felt like we were too late. It's happening. This collapse that we were dreading is starting. And from that point on, for both peoples, the level of trauma is so overwhelming that it's really, really hard not only to see the other side, as is often this term, the other side. It's really hard to see anything. I call it bloodshot eyes. Like our eyes are stuck with blood, and it's impossible to see. And the sentence that I kept hearing from everybody and resonated so strongly, because it was what I was feeling from that moment. I can't see a future. We can't see a future. And you know, this moment where your reality is shattered, and there's nothing to grab onto. And you know, I often get from many friends, international friends, kind of trying to ask, what the fuck is going on with you Israelis? Like, can't you see what you're doing? Can't you see where this is going? And the answer is complex, because it's both we can see, but we can't. And there are multiple layers of trauma that are happening, and this ongoing trauma is being continued through this expanding security threat and the ongoing hostages situation, and all the while there's another front of our disastrous, dysfunctional, corrupt, divisive, messianic and supremacist government that, you know, it's levels of dysfunction that you cannot, you know, it's one thing after the other, and another bash and another bash and another bash. And at the same time, you have all of the news that are coming from Gaza, which, you know, no one can contain, let alone if it's in your name. And what our emotional overwhelmness is a part of is a part of the system. It's a part of how it works. It's a part of depriving ourselves from a future. And at the same time, another layer of stress, another layer of overwhelming layer is the international scorn and disgust at our collapse. And this is tearing the country apart, both from within and from outside. These are the conditions for the peace camp to work in. Like, this is the conditions we're working at the same time as we're obviously also being you know, attacked by police and by our own families. This is the situation that we're dealing with. This is the question. This is the answer to what the fuck is going on with us. We are overwhelmed by the present. We are very, very much stuck in the I can't see a future. And what is happening is that both sides, both Palestinians and Israelis, are digging into the past to justify the present. Like, why is this happening? Where is this? Like, how can we get back to a point in the past where justice happened in the region? It's like it's as if we can, you know, do the meticulous historical work and find a magical moment where there were peace and justice in the Holy Land. It's make the Holy Land great again. It never happened. Justice doesn't exist in the past. Justice exists always in the futures. And this is where we should go to look for it. We need to find justice in the futures. And I'll just give you an example because one of these futures that I've been a part of a group working towards is called A Land for All. This is a Palestinian-Israeli movement. We also call ourselves Two States, One Homeland. And what we're trying to promote is an updated version of the so-called two-state solution. The two-state solution was trying to end the occupation, but it was, we have to agree that it failed. We have to agree that the idea of the two people hiding behind walls and finding a magical route that would allow themselves to never see each other again did not work. And instead, what we're suggesting is a two-state solution that is based on partnership. The idea here is that yes, two states, two citizenships, right of self-determination for each of these states, but they are not dividing, they are not separating, they are two states in partnership. One homeland means that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And from the river to the sea, Israel will be free. The open, yes, it's hard to imagine open borders right now, especially after October 7th, but this is where the future we should work towards. It may take some time, but we have very, very serious people working towards it, studying it from every angle. And we don't believe that it is right to solve one injustice by creating yet another injustice. The format of justice needs to build forward towards a future that both peoples can share the one thing. You know, one of the members of the Land for All, Limor Yehuda, often says that if there's one thing that Palestinians and Israelis agree on, is that they are not the same people. But there's another thing that both Palestinians and Israelis agree on, is that they have a very deep connection to the whole land. And we should open our imagination to be able to account for that. And opening, while I deeply believe in a land for all, I would never say a land for all is the only way. Because that's how people talked about Oslo. It's the only way. No, it's not the only way. There should be many, many ways. And the way for us to look forward is through futures pluralism. We should think of futures always in the plural. And I'll share my screen now to show you a bit of the thinking that would lead us into the exercise. So here we go. So,
yes, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. So when we talk about words and futures, we often think about science fiction. So Ursula Le Guin, one of the greatest science fiction authors ever, talked about the role of the science fiction writer is supposed to take a trend or a phenomena of the here and now, purify and intensify it for dramatic effect, and extend it into the future. Kind of saying, if this goes on, this is what will happen. Now, we're not science fiction authors. Maybe there are a few in the room, but I'm not one science fiction author. So we're looking for a different approach to kind of expand it a bit. And we look to design fiction. So design fiction does not tell stories. Instead, it designs prototypes that imply a changed world. So think about it like archaeological artifacts from the future. So when you find an archaeological artifact, you try to imagine the world around it. This is what design fiction does. But it brings these objects not from the past, but from the future. But I'm assuming that you're not necessarily designers either, and we don't have time or energy right now to design. So the methodology for our imagination is somewhere in between. It would use the words from science fiction, but it would use a more kind of object-oriented approach to futures. And we're trying to find this sweet spot between science fiction and design fiction. And I think the place we're going to look for it is in your pocket. So this is the channel through which we've been getting a lot of fiction. Some would argue, arguably some reality, but mainly a lot of fiction is coming through this screen. And what we're going to create in this session is screenshots from the future. So let's think of a notification. Somebody just liked something that you did. Congratulations. That's a bit of fiction or reality, you would decide. But it's from the here and now. We're trying to find screenshots that happened on people's devices in different futures. And this is what we're going to generate in this session. So I'll explain how it works. So we're going to look at this troubled, godforsaken Holy Land of ours and try to imagine futures in this region. And we'll do it we prepared a set of templates for you. One would be a social media post from a future. It could be a chat between two or more people in the future. It could be a notification sent to someone in the future. It could be a question for a future AI assistant. And it could also be visual. So it could also be a map of the region in the future and picture taken in the future. So each one of them would be a template ready for you in our shared board that we will share soon. And if you might notice that in the bottom of each of these templates, there's this bar. And we're interested in this timeline that you're drawing, where this template is coming from, where this screenshot is coming from. Like, we're interested in the history of your future. So we're trying to imagine what kind of transition period happened in that future. What major thing changed that future? And then was this screenshot taken before that transition period, during that transition period, or after that transition period? And then we can mark it with a circle. So this is how we're going to create these artifacts from the future. Now, you may ask, like, do we want futures that we want, the preferred futures, or the futures that we would like to prevent? Well, actually, we're interested in both. Political imagination is not only about imagining how rosy and beautiful the future may be, it's also about preparing ourselves for the shit that is coming. Finally, I wanted to just give you a construct for thinking about futures. Generally, we're always imagining the future from the present. We're looking from the now, trying to understand what is the potential of this moment. And we often look at the future as this line that continues this history into the scale quotes future. But what we often mean by the future is actually a projection, like a projection of the past into the future. We can expand that a bit and think about what is probable, right? Things that would probably happen. We can expand even further and think about what's plausible, not necessarily what we thought about, but, makes perfect sense. And we can expand even further into the possible and understand that within the possible, there's a wide option for futures that we might have not even thought about, but we cannot rule out. They are not impossible. They are not preposterous, right? And somehow with science fiction, we often focus on the preposterous when with political imagination, we actually want to understand what are our options and how can we define, how are we looking at the boundaries of the possible, which are always subjective, of course, but we need to discuss them. So within this cone, we can imagine different screenshots right? Different preferred screenshots. But we will always also imagine some screenshots that represent futures that we want to prevent, right? And I would argue a land for all is one of these preferred futures that we're trying to work towards. By the way, this is a version of something called the futures cone, and we will be using that in our exercise that we're going to start right now. So Mo just shared a Miro board, a link to our Miro board. Now, there are 82 of you here, which is very, very happy. At the same time, slightly overwhelming. So if you will be interested in taking part in the hands-on assignment, feel free to jump into the Miro board. We can host all of you. It would just be more challenging, but we like challenges. But if you want to just lean back and watch, we will be sharing the board as well. So I will be doing that right now, sharing the board, and I'll show you. I see some of you are already there. Where is it? The board is over somewhere. 1 second.
I see M, I see Fadi, I see all kinds of
Yes.
visitors. See
Some of you are
Michael.
already jumping in, and I am failing to find my Miro board.
Here, do you want me to share?
Sure, we can do that.
I think I'm sharing the right thing right now. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. So let's zoom in a bit more. So hopefully some of you have come across these collaborative boards. They're kind of weird, but then they're like a whiteboard, but online, and you can see all of these cursors zooming around. What we would want you to do, the instructions are there, so if you get lost, you can just read. But each one of you just try to grab one of these boards and put your name in the black post-it. And once you do that, it's your board. And
first come, first serve.
yes. So, and if there's already a name there, just jump to the next one. And if we run out of them, we'll make more for you. So first thing, you claim your board. And the second thing that you do is you just choose one of the templates and you try to edit it. You have three options. The most ambitious one would be to use the templates. The way you do that, you just triple click, or how many clicks you need until you select the text. Mo will show you how he does that. And then you can just
basically pick a template, click on it, and click into the space.
And then you just type.
Thanks for letting me borrow yours, M, for a second.
And then you also have the bar at the bottom where you can write the link, the title of the transition period. And you can, if none of this works for you, you also have some colorful post-its where you can just write whatever you want to write there. If for some reason you know the templates are too much for you, you can just write whatever you want, and we'll work with that.
So, for example, just grab one of these and say, "Hello."
Yeah.
The future I imagine. You just start typing in there, and that's all you need to do.
Yep. And after you can already work, so you don't need to wait for me. I'm just going to distract you as you go along. But once you have a post-it, or sorry, once you have a screenshot or a post-it ready, you can drag it to the cone at the bottom, you can see we have some chips to hang your screenshots with, and you can also see that I left some images from hands-on offline workshops that we run, so you can see that that's the inspiration for us. But finally, you'll be dragging your post-it where you think it fits. You would decide if it's whether to use a red chip or a blue chip or a yellow chip, if it's both preferred and slightly prevent. And then you'll decide whether that future is projected, probable, plausible, possible, or preposterous. And you'll try to, and depending on where you placed the transition period, is it before, during, or after the transition period, that would decide, that would set your decision whether to put it closer to the now or further along to the right. So that's pretty much what we're doing, and we're here in the board, and if any of you have need help, you can click that kind of party cone. What is that? A party hat or whatever? At the top right.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's like it says reactions, and you click it, and then you can raise your hand, and then we'll know that you need some help, and we'll try to help you. But
just as a low-tech version for anybody who doesn't want to use the Miro board, we are very conscious of that. If you want to create an imagined future, just either type it into the chat, in which case we'll save them, or type it into the Q&A if you want to talk about it. Because I think one of the things we're interested in is bringing people up on stage to talk about what they imagine. So if you want to talk, put it in the Q&A flow. If you want us to just share it or just share it with others, put it in the chat flow. And feel free to ask questions either place. And I'm going to stop sharing so people can do their thing, and we can.
Yeah, and let's give it like 3 minutes now.
Sure.
It shouldn't take too long, and you can make as many of them as you want. The idea is that you do it quickly. You can duplicate them if you want to use the same template. Really do whatever you want. You can
put a 4-minute timer up.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I had one inside.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I have a duplicate one within.
And in the meantime, if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to jump into the chat or the Q&A. We'd love to talk with you or answer any questions you might have or hear any perspectives you might have. I think
if anybody's suffering from Miro and if it is lost, we're here to help. We are your guides or your assistants to the future. One of them.
The tools aren't the point. The engagement is the point. So that's really what we're hoping to get. Ooh, Maya's already got hers up. Love it.
Nice. So seems we have one.
Here, I'm gonna share it.
One possible future waiting for us.
It went away. Well, let's see. Where'd it go? Maya took it away. Oh, Maya moved it. She said it was more probable. All right, let's see.
There's another one waiting to the right.
Congratulations on becoming a granddad. Funny that the little one came at night. How long before you saw her face? I'm over the moon. I saw her as soon as they carried her out of the room. The glow of the candlelight made her look beautiful and soft. Love it. Maya, if you want to talk about it, say the word. We're happy to.
And Maya, you can, if you wish, you can use one of the clips to mark whether you see that as a preferred future, as a prevent future, or a bit of both. So preferred would be blue, prevent would be red, and a bit of both would be yellow. You have clips at the top of your board. Yep, cool. And again, if you get lost, you have the instructions there. By the way, we haven't mentioned that, but we're really hoping that some of the exercises that you run here would become, could become the basis for something you write, maybe on Medium. So hopefully that's a start that would lead somewhere new. Let's see.
Hey Siri, take me from Tel Aviv to the best hummus Belila restaurant in Tulkarm, avoiding Jewish militia outposts all on the way. Definitely plausible.
Okay, I found this on the web.
No, my Siri is trying to give me directions, of course.
The future is knocking.
All right, what do we have here? Visiting Gaza University tomorrow to start my semester abroad. Very excited to be part of the exchange program. So good to be studying theology in the OG Holy Land. That would be pretty amazing. I don't know whose that is. Please, if you want to discuss these, just type your name in the chat and we'll bring you on stage. We'd love to hear kind of people's perspectives and where these are coming from in your mind.
And if it works for you, try to imagine within the timeline, what title would you give that transition period? Like, don't keep it as a.
I think that's the stopwatch.
The end of the movie. Yeah, so it seems we'll give you another minute just to put some screenshots on the cone. I know quite a few of you still working. It's fine. We have some time, and then when you're done, be ready to drag them over to the cone. By the way, the templates are not marked by your name, so you can be anonymous if you wish. But if you want to not be anonymous, we would be obviously accommodating of that.
Mushon, we have a question. We have a question from Anthony, which I answered a little bit, but I would love to get your perspective on it. Which is, what are we doing here? What are we supposed to be learning here?
Yeah, so we are trying to break the deadlock of not seeing a future, and we are trying to understand what kind of possible futures inform what we may do next. As I mentioned, I presented to you in general outlines the future that we are leading with Land for All, but definitely there are different futures that are worth discussing, even breaking down the future that I suggested into actual. So what would happen on people's screens? And I think we've already started seeing a bit of that, and how does that inform our thinking and what we would need to do? So we're already seeing some more. Yeah, I'll read that. So Dan says, I got the truck going down to the Dead Sea flats Monday 4 a.m. missing 6 miners after the heat wave. Crying face. Pay is standard day rate, all via PayPal. I know you need the money, so come on, who's man enough? So this is post. Can you zoom in? So can you zoom in back to yes, thanks. So this is post. Zoom in a bit.
Post drought mining.
Post drought mining, and this is during the time of post drought mining. Thank you. So the environmental angle is extremely important as well. We have another post-it here, a blue post-it, meaning a preferred future. Congratulations, you have been accepted to our research program. We love the work you do and are looking forward to sharing ideas as we move into the revolution in consciousness. And I love this one from Emily because, you know, a part of what design fiction is so good about is, you know, revealing and concealing at the same time. Like, how do I, like, what do I build around that piece of information, right? What is this program? What is this about consciousness? Is it some sci-fi thing? Is it some spiritual thing? Yeah, so it already makes me imagine. There's a map here. Israel, Palestine, communes. Nice. If
I love
my
that.
and there is an Israel Palestine commune all around this from the center to the north. One of them would be in South Lebanon, which is exciting in its own right. Facebook Meta International News. Can you zoom in, please, Mo?
Yeah, sorry.
Dual candidates for Middle East two states leadership emerge. Radical new approach gaining popularity around the world. This is in the future of end of eternal conflict. So this is really awesome. Thank you so much. I would love to get that push notification.
All right, what else we got here?
Do you want to read the next one, Mo?
Sure. I know I think we read that one before. Did we read this one? This was the Syrian one.
The small one over there in the preposterous at the top, right?
Preposterous. Oh, I see it. I see it. Gotcha. Yeah.
There's one coming from the chat that I would read. So my Valverde Galvan is writing a notification, possible on social media notification. Today, the first flowers of the season bloom in Rafah. Oh man, this is.
I think Anthony is not happy with our session. Sorry about that, Anthony. I think for us, this is really about understanding how words affect writing and words affect imagination and words affect how we talk about the conflict. I think for us, the clear failure is a failure of imagination. And what we're trying to get people to understand is that the way that you think and talk about things limits or increases or expands or contracts your imagination and ability to design solutions. So, sorry, Maya has a question for us, which is a question about the way you choose what words to use for this session. Was it difficult to decide whether you were going to be talking about the conflict or the violence or the events or the situation? I'll be completely honest, Maya, we have not had that conversation. And part of the reason I think that we have not had that conversation is that both of us have from the beginning of when we started talking, which had nothing to do with Medium Day, we were just kind of connecting to speak with each other, have both always been kind of open to just listening. And I think that at least my position is I tend not to use words in ways that can potentially cause offense. So, you know, I've seen people have arguments about the word genocide. And I think it's a really interesting academic argument for people on both sides, but it is fundamentally, to me, a useless one in the sense that people are dying. I don't care what you call it. That reality is something we can either kind of acknowledge by being honest about what's happening, or, you know, ignore by choosing to have arguments about words. And I think that that's exactly the point that we've been focused on, is getting at the ideas behind the words and dropping the words if they become a barrier to understanding or a barrier to imagination. I hope that answers your question, Maya.
I think I can add to that we try to use words that each one of them on its own is so evocative and builds a world around it, right? Every word that we use has a whole world around it and a whole conflict around it. And at the beginning, you're obvious who's the speaker, but then maybe not. And what are we trying to say? How dare you use that word, right? These are things that we wanted to evoke because we are trying to build different worlds with our words, and we are trying to advocate building different worlds with words. We have another question. Yeah, right.
Hey, Maya, thank you. I think what's really important to me is being clear that I don't care about the argument, right? Like I'm not focused on winning a semantic argument. I'm not focused on winning a historical argument. And I think I found a kindred spirit in Mushon and all the conversations that we've had. We've never approached the conversations that we've had as confrontational. Like I'm not trying to score points and then Mushon is trying to score points and somewhere in the ether, someone is keeping track of the scores. We are trying to A, understand each other, and B, try to help other people figure out how to understand each other, because I will offer a slight contradiction of what Mushon said earlier of Israelis and Palestinians agreeing that they are not the same people. I think that's absolutely true. But I think it's also very, very true that we may not be the same people, but a lot of the ways that we talk and act rhyme is a good way to put it. There's a lot of cultural and social and even religious similarities that in a lot of ways make the conflict harder. For those who are interested, like take a look at Freud's narcissism of small differences. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to ramble. Patricia has another question. Mushon, do you want to take that one?
Before that, I want to echo Jedida's screenshot that appeared in the chat. So the year is 2024. In a surprising turn of events, Jill Stein is elected in the United States. She immediately makes AIPAC register as a foreign entity and issues an arms embargo between the US and Israel, while simultaneously creating an international body of academics to discuss and implement a system to end apartheid and bring about reconciliation between the two peoples. So this is definitely a future that I will be interested in seeing come about. But I wonder if where should we put it between the projected and the preposterous, and what type of actions, based on that, what type of actions do they inform? So I would include another note that in longer workshops, we also then use the futures to really understand what kind of early signals can we find for them in the future, in the present, and what kind of actions do they inform in the present. And then, because the idea of these futures is not only to imagine because, oh, it could be amazing if only. To use the future, we need to understand what does it reveal in the present, right? So I would encourage each one of you to try to understand how do you use that future, right? Now we need to, unfortunately, fortunately, there are many other screenshots on the cone, but unfortunately, we won't be able to go over all of them. So I think we need to at least explain to you how we're going to continue this. So I will actually share my screen myself to show you quickly that to continue the conversation, after the session is over. First of all, you have this comment tool here. You can type C, and you get your cursor becomes this bubble, and then you can leave a comment here and say, "Oh, I wonder what what this means for our present." Okay, and that becomes a thread that we can continue, right?
And please continue to add these just because the session is over. Mushon and I have both committed to, after this session, to pull all of these, and I think we'll create a mirrored set of posts on both of our mediums where we can share both the comments and the questions and all of these futures, which I think are really, really inspiring for the most part. There's some terrible.
And we will also encourage you to use either the screenshot that you created or screenshot that you've read here, or the next screenshot that you would create as the beginning of your next article. Maybe you can create a set of them and try to see how that informs what needs to happen right now. And definitely tag us. These are our pages on Medium. We would love to continue engaging with you.
Please.
If you click here, you go directly to create a new story on Medium, which we would like to see happen. It's important to tell you, both Mo and I met on Medium, so we are thankful for this platform, and thankful for the team for allowing us to have an hour session, even though it's not enough, as we can see. Yes, Barry.
Barry, you can unmute if you'd like.
Or should we unmute you, Barry?
No, I must have asked to unmute by accident, sorry. But I will say thank you very much. This was really interesting and thought-provoking.
Thank you. I mean, I think from our perspective, this has been a really interesting engagement with folks. I think we would love to continue this conversation. Just to repeat what Mushon said, we're coming up on time here, and I don't want to take you from other. Looks like Lily would like to speak. Lily, you got like 10 seconds. If you want to unmute, you can speak. Okay, Lily, going.
We're trying to unmute you.
No, okay. We tried, Lily. If you get to it, you're welcome to. I think there's someone else asking to. There, Patricia here. Patricia, if you want to unmute, you're welcome to speak.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Gentlemen, I know, I can feel it. Even though I'm alone in my flat here, I can feel the resonance that the two of you have absolutely evoked in all of us. We might all be aspiring writers or even professional writers, but what's happening is not in the pen. It's not in the sword. It's in our ability to formulate words in not only a more intellectual manner, but a far more globally reaching, a more humane manner. And this, dear gentlemen and fellow medium enthusiasts, this is what separates us and elevates us from AI, which everybody's so paralyzed and fearful to lose our humanity to. No, this conversation absolutely highlights it. Please send this, dear medium, dear Tony, I don't even feel comfortable calling you that, Anthony. Please send this to Lex Friedman, Joe Rogan. Please send it to David Chalmers and everybody who's wondering, what is consciousness? Where is it? Where is it located? You know where? You know where the understanding for it is? Between the intellect of these two gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
You're super kind.
Right now, we cannot add anything to that, and we're kind of blushing.
Thank you.
This is melting.
Namaste.
Okay, we have to be respectful of other sessions, so please stay in touch with us. You have the access to the Miro board, and you know where to find us on the internet. We're not hiding. Thank you. And thank you, Mo.
Thank you, Mushon. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We deeply
Bye.
appreciate you all. Please stay in touch. Thank you.